It all comes down to this. After months of preparation, the city of Boston is ready to welcome the world. WEBJ's Race to the Finish Line team has you covered with everything Boston Marathon related. Our reporters and correspondents will walk you through the 26-mile route the runners take on and share personal stories from runners who have overcome obstacles and are now giving back by participating. And coming up, WEBJ has the latest updates on the controversy between veteran hand cyclists and the Boston Athletic Association, how businesses are gearing up for this year's race, and the new added drone and truck security precautions being taken to keep both spectators and runners safe this year. Stay tuned for all this and more on WEBJ's Race to the Finish Line. Good afternoon and welcome to WEBJ's Race to the Finish Line. I'm Carly Wickham.
And I'm Jack Hobbs. Today we will share with you all the essential marathon details as we prepare for the 120th Boston Marathon.
Although the marathon accepts a little over 30,000 entries each year, approximately only 26,000 actually turn out on marathon day to run. These runners include not only qualified timers, but also people running for charity, as well as world-class runners who do not require a qualifying time. Because of the standards to apply to the marathon, usually about 96% of those who start the run finish the race.
And one of those runners is co-creator of the Boston Strong slogan. Our reporter Christina Gesford had the opportunity to sit down with a marathon runner. Christina?
Thanks, Jack, and what an honor it was. You may not know him by name, but his handiwork probably hangs in your closet. Christopher Dobbins was at Emerson College when he came up with the Boston Strong mantra. Now, 4 years later, what was originally a t-shirt slogan has transformed into a nationwide phenomenon. In 1 week, he'll be running the marathon for the second time. This is his story. On April 15th, 2013, Boston would change forever. Christopher Dobbins was about to walk down to the Boston Marathon finish line from campus when he heard tragedy had struck.
You know, I kept thinking to myself, I want to go help, I want to go do something, I want to leave the school and go down to Boylston Street and help, and a bunch of my friends wanted to too, but we couldn't because the school went on lockdown. And so that's kind of where we were stuck. That was the problem that we were trying to solve, is how could we fix this problem? How could we have college students be able to help out with this cause, even though we weren't physically able to go down there?
Chris had made t-shirts with his dad in high school, so he went to his resident assistant, Nick Reynolds, and pitched him the idea. They'd design a t-shirt in collaboration with Ink to the People, and all proceeds raised would go to the victims of the Boston Marathon bombing.
Our goal was to sell 110 shirts and only raise about $1,500. And to this day, we've sold over 70,000 shirts and have raised over $1 million.
Now he's running the marathon for the second time.
I'm running for Stepping Strong because they are an organization that focuses on funding research for trauma-related injuries. I've dealt with a lot of my own personal trauma, and I've seen a lot of people go through their own traumatic experiences, specifically the Boston Marathon.
But he also wants participants to know running in a marathon is about charity, but it's also about doing it for yourself. Pushing your body to run 26 miles is no small feat.
It's a lot of pain, but it's well worth it when you're on the actual marathon day. Like, you're not paying attention to your body. You focus more on the excitement and everything else that's going on around you, and that gets you through to the finish line. But like, this is also a personal journey. Like, you're running 26 miles practically by yourself. Like, even if you're running with friends, this is your own journey.
He wants to remind people that the Boston Marathon and the Boston Strong message is so important now more than ever.
I think ever since 2013, the vibe of the Boston Marathon has always been just that of healing. And I think in today's world, when we are facing all these terrorist attacks and these scares, you know, marathons just in general are a great way to bring people together and kind of combat that. I've seen a lot of people go through that marathon and come out so strong.
In 2015, Chris was inspired by his then girlfriend who was a victim of the bombings. He ran for her, but now he knows he's also running for those who hold his slogan true.
And there was a moment where the two of us locked eyes and we realized what this was all about. Like, why Boston Strong was created, why this community exists, and why this marathon means the world to not only the two of us, but like this entire city.
Stay strong. Thank you.
Today, Chris and his partner Nick continue to sell the original Boston Strong t-shirts through their website. You can go to staystrongbostonstrong.org to order yours and learn more about the campaign. But Chris's is just one of many inspiring journeys. Jack, can you tell us about another?
Thank you, Christina. Now to a heartfelt story about a man who overcame many obstacles in the course of his life. Danny Doyer of Dorchester, Massachusetts, was the youngest of 3 children when his parents were separated and he moved with his mother to Los Angeles. While his mother worked several jobs, Danny and his brother were introduced to drugs. 4 years later, he and his brother were back in Massachusetts, but drugs were a constant in Danny's life. After burning through the money he made while working at the Suffolk County Police Department, he found himself on the street. After many attempts to get his act together, Danny started running 5Ks, then half marathons. Through his volunteering connections, he will run the Boston Marathon for a homeless shelter, the Lazarus House.
Even though the Boston Marathon is on Patriots Day, not all Patriots feel welcome to run. Boston Marathon hand cyclists are in dispute with the Boston Athletic Association about their lack of accommodations. The Achilles Team Freedom, a group of Boston Marathon bombing survivors and wounded veterans who are on hand cycles at the Boston Marathon, are not happy. Despite the several meetings and emails, the BAA has to change giving hand cyclists opportunities to run. There are only 30 slots for hand cyclist athletes, while other marathons have more than 70 slots.
One of the things that we love about the marathon is that it brings together many amazing organizations. This year they have collectively raised over $23 million. The Dana-Farber Institute has currently raised over $2 million alone, but it is still a long way to go to reach their $5 million goal. 261 Fearless is a new fundraiser to the marathon celebrating and uniting and empowering women all over the globe. The team is celebrating the 50th anniversary of Kathrine Schwitzer's pioneer run in the marathon. They've currently raised 70% of their $1 million goal.
The Boston Athletic Association is the oldest running-focused nonprofit organization, and they host running events year-round, including the Boston Marathon, BAA Half Marathon, and BAA 10K. The BAA promotes the healthy lifestyle throughout their charity and running programs. They were established by Robert F. Clark and with support from George Walker Weld on March 15, 1887. The BAA is run by Board of Governors. They have more than 30 charities to fund all running events, and they raise more than $15 million for the Boston Marathon annually.
And now we go live to our reporter Manami Fujiwara, who is going to give us a closer look at the course. Manami?
Thanks, Jack. As you can see, the 26.2 course runs from Hopkinton through Weasley and concluded in downtown Boston. This map provided by Boston Athletic Association marks mile checkpoints and hydration stations to help you plan your route around the race. Get ready for some mild weather and Marathon Monday with temperatures in the low 60s and sun expected to shine through in the early afternoon. That is all I have for now. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Manami, for that overview of the courses and all the stops along the way.
Coming up, we'll have more on how you should prepare for Marathon Monday.
Increased security, how police are going to use trucks and drones to protect runners and spectators.
And live from our interactive studio, we will have the latest on where to watch this year's race. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to WEBJ's Race to the Finish Line.
We have all the latest on this year's marathon.
But first, we're taking a look back at the tragedy that struck Boylston Street. This year is the 4th anniversary of the 2013 marathon bombings. Boston will honor those who survived, remember those who were killed, and celebrate the resilience of the city after the attack. The world came together to mourn and remember with Boston. It allowed the city to come back stronger than ever. Let's take a look back at the day that changed the marathon forever. Hundreds of thousands of fans lined all 26.2 miles of the marathon route on April 15, 2013. At approximately 2:50 p.m., many of their lives would be changed forever. 2 bombs went off 10 seconds apart on the block of the finish line in Copley Square, each placed about 100 yards from each other. The bombs killed Martin Richard, an 8-year-old Boston area student, Crystal Campbell, a 29-year-old Medford woman, and Ling Zi Liu, a graduate student at Boston University, as well as leaving dozens more injured. President Obama and many others responded immediately, beginning the search for the terrorists.
We're continuing to monitor and respond to the situation as it unfolds, and I've directed the full resources of the federal government to help state and local authorities protect our people, increase security around the United States as necessary, and investigate what happened.
Just 3 days after the bombings themselves, suspects are identified and photos of the Tsarnaev brothers were released. The brothers are soon found, and a car chase ensued, leaving one police officer dead, as well as severely injuring Tamerlan Tsarnaev, who later died in the hospital. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev is found in critical condition and taken into custody. The preparation for the trial began. Tsarnaev pleaded not guilty to all 30 charges in early July. The jury selected in March of 2015, and court proceedings happened almost continuously for 1 month. The jury finds him guilty of all 30 charges after 11 hours of deliberation. Each year since, on Marathon Day, we honor the victims lost and celebrate those who are still with us. The Boston Marathon and its participants have come back stronger than ever.
A witness of that resilience was Peter Drummey, a librarian at the Massachusetts Historical Society. Our reporter, Easton Ashby, sat down with him to discuss the history of the marathon and the day that it changed forever.
I'm Peter Drummey, the Stephen T. Riley Librarian of the Massachusetts Historical Society.
The Boston Marathon is coming up on Monday. I would just like to talk about a little bit from start all the way up until now.
The Boston Marathon dates back to the beginning of the modern Olympic movement. That is, the Boston Marathon is about the same age as the International Olympic Marathon. At the end of the 19th century, this revival and interest in Olympic sports and the marathon, tracing its history back to ancient Greece, people running equivalents of it elsewhere in the world. Over the course of the 20th century, it became more than just a local event. The Boston Marathon, essentially athletic club in Boston running this local event, and over the course of the 20th century grew into this international event, one of the most famous marathons in the world, and one of the most challenging because it has a course that goes up and down over interesting terrain.
Do you think the attendance and all of the hype for the Boston Marathon has increased or decreased since the bombings?
I've worked here in the Back Bay of Boston almost 40 years, so I've seen a lot of marathons going back to my childhood, either directly or on television. And the interest and enthusiasm has grown. It was so large, say, 5 or 10 years ago, that it's hard to believe almost it could grow any more than that. It certainly hasn't decreased since the events, the bombing.
Considering such a dramatic day, everybody has their moment that they talk about. Where were you the day of the bombings?
Oddly enough, the day of the marathon is the one day that we don't come to the Historical Society, whether it's open or not, simply because the mass of people who gather here in this neighborhood. So I was actually at home, although I came into work. We were so close to this that it seemed important, me because I work right here in this neighborhood. Clearly many people from not just around Boston, but throughout New England gathered here. Coming here to be near this place seemed almost to be this groundswell that grew up. And for the following days, when the scene of the explosions was closed off as a crime scene, and where Boston itself was closed down officially, it was amazing how many people made their way here, even if it meant walking a long distance to get here. It seemed important to people. And also this enormous sort of temporary monument grew up just down the street. But when I came into Boston just shortly after the bombing, you could look down this length of Boylston Street, and it's something that'll always stay with me, this feeling that something had been not necessarily changed, because it's remarkable how quickly things came back, but how scarring it was, what had happened there, and how important it seemed to be to come back to work, to be here. It's one of the few times I've ever been interviewed in the aftermath because I was here and available, and it seemed important to be able to tell people, especially about other things in Boston history, people who are trying to make sense of this.
And final question, are you going to be in attendance at this year's marathon?
Here, close at hand to it. Actually, that's an interesting point. It seems now more important to be here than it was once, where you could say, oh, I don't want to fight the crowd to get there. Now it seems like part of it.
Thank you, Easton. After the break, join us as we have more on how the marathon stimulates our local economy.
And how you can stay up to date on everything about the Boston Marathon with the app where you can even track your favorite runners.
An old app with new tricks, how you can follow the race from anywhere in the world.
And local businesses making money off this event, how this food chain capitalizes on its location. We'll be right back. Welcome back to WEBJ's Race to the Finish Line, where we have everything you need to know about the Boston Marathon coming up on Monday.
First, we start with the effect of the local economy.
Every year, the Boston Marathon boosts the local economy. It is considered the kickoff of the tourist season, according to CEO of the Greater Boston Convention and Visitors Bureau. Every year, the marathon brings in more and more money. In 2015, it brought in $182 million, and last year went up to $188 million. This year, it's estimated that $192.2 million will be brought into the Boston area.
We now go live to our reporter, Allie Reed, who has more on the business side of the marathon. Allie?
Hey, thanks, Jack. So I was able to take a walk down Boylston Street just a few days ago and walked very close to the Boston Marathon finish line and stopped into a bunch of local businesses. One of the places that I stopped in was Be Good, which is a healthy food restaurant located literally right next to the finish line, where I got to speak to some of the employees, where they told me, what it's like now, how they're holding up just 4 years after the initial bombing, and what the perks are being so close to the finish line.
The line is right there in the front, so the people can see the stores, and they be good to have a good health foods, so they can help too.
Vanessa Texera, who has been a loyal employee for 3 years, is no stranger to Marathon Monday. She says the store has the day down to a T.
We can come here at 8 o'clock in the morning to prepare to do some stuff, to do some bake-ups, because a lot of people's comments. It's crazy, it's too much work. So.
Workers plan to come in 3 hours before opening just to figure out where employees will be placed around the store.
Before we open, I have meetings, to prepare. Some people stay in the doors to ask to people. Some people stay in the cashier, 2 in cashier, and 2 in grill, 2 in smoothies, 2 in salads.
I thought all of the cheering for the runners would work up a hungry appetite. But Texera said they see most of their profits in smoothies and other drinks.
I have a lot of busy people, so a lot of people coming to drink smoothie, water, because they need to eat hydrated.
She says coming to work is a privilege, especially on Marathon Monday. But she still has a little bit of fear leading into the big day.
Because one year they come a bomber here, so you don't know what happened. So we are about the security, because you come to work and you don't know if you go home or hospital.
So in just a few days, we're going to see runners, cheerers, family, friends, however it may be. Hundreds of thousands of people are planning to be in the city come Monday. I'm very excited. Local businesses are ready to see the amount of people that are going to be in Boston. And until then, that's all I've got for now. So back to you guys at the studio.
Thank you so much. So the overwhelming crowd that is going to be flooding Boston on Marathon Monday always leads to lots of difficulty with the T and other public transits. They're going to be very crowded. The MBTA website has a ton of maps of the T and stations that are closest to the course for spectators to find the best place to watch. According to officials, there will be more trains running throughout the day, but Copley Station will be closed the entire day. If you're planning on attending the race, make sure you do not have large bags or backpacks and no cans or bottles, as they're not allowed on the course.
The official app of the Boston Marathon is back, where fans can track their 10 favorite people, see the course map, and check out the information of the John Hancock Elite Athletic Team. The app also has a real-time lead board and race results. The course map has locations of mile markers, race hydration stations, and medical stations. Some of the new features are a countdown clock to the marathon and a map section for things to see and do in the Boston area for spectators.
Security since 2013 has been tight, but this year we might see it tighter than ever before. We go now to reporter Javier Rodriguez, who has more information on the security at this year's marathon. Javi?
Thanks, Carly. The Boston Marathon typically has tight security every year, but due to the recent terror attacks happening all over the world, officials are taking extra security measures to ensure everyone's safety.
It was terrible. They killed an 8-year-old boy.
This man was standing near Copley Square during the marathon when the bombs went off. It's been 4 years since the Boston Marathon bombing, and security will be extra tight this year. 5,000 officers will be positioned along the 26-mile route, and because recent terror attacks use vehicles as a way to strike people, trucks will be used as barricades.
Either CN trucks or Packers or whatever they have available so that a vehicle wouldn't be able to drive through.
There will also be eyes in the sky. Drones will be deployed at the start line in Hopkinton that will be used to spot any suspicious activity.
They will be providing live video feeds into Public Safety Command Center.
Boston's FBI Special Agent Arnold Shaw also urged the public to keep an eye out.
The public will continue to play a critical role in the safety and security of this event through the reporting of suspicious activities or behaviors that seem odd or out of place.
This heightened security should help people feel at ease during the marathon. And like many people in Boston, this woman is excited for the big day.
It's so much fun. It's so exciting. It's great to see, all the hard work people have done and seeing the results. And it's just such a great event.
The Boston Police Department is asking people to leave their handbags, backpacks, or any bags at home. And if you do need to carry things throughout the marathon, they're asking that you use a clear plastic bag. Live on Wilson Street for WEBJ News, I'm Javier Rodriguez.
Thanks, Javi. We will now go back to our reporter, Manami Fujiwara, who has the inside scoop of the best places to watch the marathon. Manami?
Thanks, Jack. Obviously, no matter where you watch the marathon, it will be an amazing experience, but probably the craziest and most exciting spot in the finish line. It can be a bit crowded, so I have also been told the halfway mark and the final miles are loud and crowded places to watch. The halfway mark is right before Wesley, and the easiest way to get there is to take a commuter rail to Wesley Hills. If you want to go to the 1 mile mark to encourage them to finish strong, you can take the commuter rail, the Yoki or the Green Line to take Kenmore. Another great spot to cheer on the runner is Heartbreak Hills. This hill is the final hill and raises a half mile. After running for 20.4 miles, this can be challenging, so they need as many people as possible there to help push them. The easiest way to get there is to take a Green Line to Boston College. The walk from there is less than a mile. Those are the places I think are the best to watch the marathon. But there are many spots close to MBTA spots. You can find a full list online at the Boston Athletic Association website. Back to you at the desk, Jack.
Thanks, Manami. So if you could pick a place to watch the marathon, which would you choose?
I would have to say the halfway mark to Wesley.
That is great. So former Olympians to national and all-star athletes make up United States elite team at the Boston Marathon this year. But there are some runners that stand out. Meg Kevlansky, who won first place in 2014, 1 year after the bombing, will be running his last marathon. Two-time Olympian Galen Rupp, Desiree Linden, who lost out on winning the marathon by a mere 2 seconds. Sadly, though, Lindsay Flanagan, who won a silver medal in 2015 at the Pan American Games and another silver medal at Beijing, will not be competing this year due to a back injury. But rest assured, she will be watching and cheering everyone on.
Denise Kimido from Kenya holds the world's records for competing in the 2014 Berlin Marathon in just 2 hours, 2 minutes, and 57 seconds. However, Kimido was forced to withdraw from this year's Boston Marathon due to an injury. With Kimido out, records for the Boston Marathon course may not be challenged this year. Matu of Kenya currently holds the fastest time of finishing the race in 2011 with 2 hours, 3 minutes, and 2 seconds. With the women's record holder, Benzuesh Deba from Ethiopia, she finished in 2014 race in 2 hours, 19 minutes, and 56 seconds. Deba was declared the record holder after a doping scandal stripped the title from Rita Jepto from Kenya.
That is all we have for you. Thank you so much for joining us today as we explored the 120th annual Boston Marathon.
Here at WEBJ, we send the best of luck to all you marathoners participating on Monday. We look forward to seeing you all there at the finish line. I'm Jack Hobbs.
And I'm Carly Wickham. Happy racing.